Hi, we're going to take a look at the Owon SDS Series oscilloscopes, or smart digital storage scope. This isn't going to be a full review, unfortunately. I've just got this SDS 9302 scope for a very short amount of time, so thanks to Charles at Trio Smart Cow who loaned me this one, and we'll take a quick look at it. So I've just turned it on. I'm just going to play around with it, so this is more of a first impressions video once again than a full review, so please forgive me if I miss anything. I'm sure I will, or I get something wrong. No doubt people will correct me. It's worth taking a look at the box it comes in. It looks rather quite neat, but check this out. Smart design to offer easy workplace. Smart function to offer effective operate. Please read that in a Chinese accent. And on the front here, we've got bandwidth, 60 megahertz to 300 megahertz. Well, this is the model. I've got the 300 megahertz model here. I don't know if it's the same front end or anything like that. I assume it is. 10 meg record length, 8-inch screen, one of the big selling points, 800 by 600 screen, full color of course. Unique function, auto scale. You gotta be kidding me. Battery backup. What? No, this thing is actually, well, it can be battery powered. There's an optional slot on the bottom which you can slide in a battery pack for this thing. So I guess that's one of the big selling points of this thing, is that it is a battery, or can be a battery powered scope. I have no idea how long it lasts or anything like that. I think the battery's about $60 or so. It doesn't come standard with it. And this model, of course, is the SDS 9302 300 megahertz bandwidth. So if you're after bandwidth really cheap, then this might be a way to get it. And a very impressive sounding 3.2 gig samples per second. So as far as the sample rate and bandwidth go, this thing for $1,500 for a 300 megahertz bandwidth scope, not bad at all. So this is the top of the range unit, 1500 smackers. Now the first thing you notice when you take this thing out of the box is just how thin it is. I mean, that is just ridiculous. Check out the depth of this. Absolutely incredible. And on top of that, it's actually concave. It actually, yeah, you can just get that on camera. It actually concaves in like that. Absolutely amazing. Small and lightweight. Doesn't weigh much at all. 1.78 kilos in fact, minus the battery. So on the back, not much at all, really. There's just a trigger output and pass-fail output, so we should be able to measure the update rate of this thing. A lot of goodness on the side here. LAN, standard, VGA standard, and USB host and device as well. Very good. I'm not sure if it's entirely standard, but I think most suppliers are actually offering it with the LAN and the external VGA option as well. So that's excellent. And on the other side, we have IEC mains input with a real clunking power switch there. So this power switch here on the top feels like a real clunking power switch, but it's not. It's actually a standby switch. And of course, when it's in standby, the standby LED comes on up there, and we can power the thing on. And the screen on it is very, very nice, by the way. Very, very bright. It's hard to sort of get the brightness of these screens on camera, get it properly. And the viewing angle down, you lose it at about 45, you lose the graticule there at about 45 degrees, but you can still see it. It's not bad from the side. It's not too bad at all from the top. Yeah, works a treat. So viewing angle, not bad. So the screen is pretty darn good. 800 by 600. I don't know whether or not it doesn't look like they do any pixel doubling at all on that. Now, of course, most of the time, if you use it just on a regular workbench level like this, you sort of don't want it sitting vertical like that, so you can actually flip out these feet here, and that puts it on quite a substantial angle then, like that. But look at this. These buttons, one of the problems is the buttons are very tight, and I can push that all the way over without actually pushing that button. So really, you know, you should sort of put your fingers on there when you push the button like that. And product design fail. The buttons are just far too stiff. Of course, I can actually, using the right technique, you can actually get to push them without pushing the thing over, of course. But even on this rubber surface, which has a bit of grip because it's got some rubber feet on it, I am able to actually push that scope around like that. If you're like working on a slipperier workbench like an office desk or something, forget it. This thing's just going to slide everywhere. So in that respect, hopeless. And yes, there is a fan in there. Yeah, it's reasonably noisy, bit of a whir in there, so it's certainly not the quietest thing I've ever heard. A little bit distracting. I've got nothing else on here. Can definitely hear it. Now, in terms of build quality and feel, you take it out of the box and you think, oh, it's okay, but you can't help but think it's, you know, it's a bit of a toy. It's built down to a price. The plastics aren't that great a quality. The button feel, as I said, far too tight. You know, the color scheme and all that sort of thing, very bland. The controls don't feel very good at all. These don't have the encoder knobs here. The rotor encoders, they've got, you know, a very poor feel to them. There's no indents in there. The volts per division does have indents in them. They do feel a bit better, but these other ones, I don't know. Not a real fan of the look and feel of this thing at all. The good news is that, yes, all the buttons are pushable. They do have that secondary function, so excellent. And they've gone for the 5 soft functions on the side here, as well as menu off. Great, you know, if you don't want the menu to bugger off, please. And even the feel of that button is very cheap, tactile. These buttons, very cheap, tactile type feel. Really don't like it at all. And they've decided to go for another 5 down here, but they're not spread out like the usual thing right along the base of that screen. They've decided to dedicate a user part of the screen for user measurements and stuff like that. And yes, it does show your current sample rate and your memory depth all the time. I love that. Brilliant. Shows your trigger level, shows your horizontal sweep speed, shows your vertical over here, and then some user stuff over here. So, you know, it's not bad, but it's just interesting to note that it's sort of only using, you know, just over half of the bottom of the screen there. One of those annoying aspects of this thing, though, is that you have to just jump all over the shop. Check this out. If I go up to the acquire menu, okay, well, here's the acquisition mode. So you've got to go from here all the way down to here, acquisition mode, and then you've got to go up to this side one over here. I mean, you can't just sort of, you know, cycle through those by just pressing that button again. It's not like it's a you know, a pop-up menu or anything like that, and do that. So you just always, every time you seem to use this thing, even though I've only been using it for a short amount of time, you just got to jump all over the place, and it gets really annoying. They just haven't put thought into the, you know, usability and the ergonomics of this thing. But I don't mind the actual control layout itself. It's reasonably quite good. The separate vertical for each channel, and they're lined up directly on the BNC. They are color-coded to match the screen, so, oh, well, kind of. They've kind of gone red. These don't light up. The run-stop button up here, yeah, it does light up. It's much brighter when it's red, but green is pretty darn wimpy. And there is a single shot button, lights up white. I mean, it's just, no. I mean, just really poor choices there, and all this dark grey, and the stick-on silk-screened overlay, like, it just appears a bit cheapish to me. But anyway, yeah, the triggers lined up here, the horizontals here. I always prefer a bigger horizontal knob, of course, but, you know, that's just from the old analog days. And they've got all your utility and menu buttons up here, as well as your multi-purpose function button. So, you know, it's all there. It's, you know, it's reasonably well laid out. I have no idea what that is down there. It's almost like it's a little infrared remote control window or something. I don't know. I haven't read the manual, so I've got no clue. One thing to note about the screen here, you notice on either side here, they've got half a division. So they've got 14 divisions, and, well, they've got like 15 total, but it's, you know, it's only half a division on the side. I'm not sure if I've ever seen that before. You know, I don't know. Why did they do that? But hey, the more waveform, the better, right? So I guess you can't complain. Now, on the vertical, I'm at 5 millivolts per division. It does go down to 2 millivolts per division, but check this out. Full bandwidth limit at the moment. Of course, you can select full bandwidth or 20 megahertz here. And but if we go down to, wrong way. If we go down to 2 millivolts per division, automatically turns the bandwidth limit on there. I like that it tells you down there. It's really quite nice. And there it is. bandwidth limit automatically on. So at that lowest 2 millivolts setting, you don't get your 300 megahertz bandwidth. So yeah, your $1,500 has gone to waste there. Now here's an interesting thing to note. Notice that we're in the center at the moment, and yes, we can change our position down there. It's a little bit slow, but you know, it does overshoot a little bit, but to your actual movement, you see it jump up, boom, and then jump back down there. But anyway, that's not too bad, and you can just press it to go back to the center. Excellent, love that, and it tells you your offset down there, which is really quite nice. I don't like how it says like a double negative down there, negative, negative. Anyway, what I wanted to show you is that when you invert it like this, yes, there's a DC offset in there, and that's not uncommon. You know, all scopes are going to have this right down at the bottom end. We're at 2 millivolts per division, and if you turn it up, then you expect that to go down, of course, and it does. So say at 10 millivolts per division, we can still see there's significant offset down there. Now if we go up to 100, you'll hear a relay click. There we go. That just switched to the other range, and you notice that, look, it's now got another level of offset in there at 100 millivolts per division. So that's actually quite significant offset. Now normally you can calibrate this thing and compensate for this in software by running a calibration routine, but I haven't been able to find that yet. If I go into the utility menu, here's another thing, right? You go into there's the utility button over here. You click it, and like you think there's nothing here. Like you think there's no options. You know, hardly anything at all. You think it's just the output, but you pop that up, and then we've got this menu that comes up over here instead of over here now. Well, you can set that timeout on the menu thing. Then we use our multi-purpose knob here, and then we can go into config, display, adjust, pass, fail, our output type, and our LAN settings. So our output type, for example, output type is pass, fail, and trig level, and then all of our pass, fail stuff, and then it comes back down here now instead of over here. It's like it's all over the shop. It really is. It's terrible, but you call that up, and you can adjust a self-cal. Here we go. Here we go. I missed that before. There you go. So maybe we can calibrate that out. Let me run it. Remove all probes, blah, blah, blah. Press any key to quit. Press H2 from channel 1. Press H2. What's H2? What's H2? Oh, dull. Didn't see it. H2. Horizontal soft key number 2 down here. Oh, goodness. There we go. Auto calibration. What? I did. Press H2 for calibration. There we go. It's calibrating. So now, hopefully, it'll take out all those DC offsets. He's taking its fat time, let me tell you. All right, it's done. Took a few minutes there. Let's have a look at the... No, look at that. There we go. It's fixed all the offset. Oh, there's something jumping around there. Look at that. Yep. Yeah, not a problem. Excellent, well done. Now if we go over here into the trigger menu, call it up, once again it's a little bit convoluted. We've got like, you think, oh yeah, look, like type here, and then this has popped up over here again, so we use our multi-purpose knob here to choose our type. So we've got edge, video, slope, and pulse, and then you can just push that, use that button to push that in, and then it's popped up down here again. It's, man. Anyway, if we go up here to edge, some people might be pleased to know, yes, it does have true alternate trigger, so it can trigger from both channel 1 and channel 2, and you'll notice the trigger point down here. If I adjust the trigger level, you can see that changes on the screen, of course, gives you your little diamond over there, fix, vanishes. That all works as you'd expect on any modern scope, and you see the level always. But if you go down here to alternate, bingo, we've got a second trigger level over here for the second channel. Brilliant. You'll notice that we can change the source there, channel 2, and now we're able to move these two independent trigger points for channel 1 and channel 2. Fantastic. You know, a lot of scopes, even like the Agilent scopes, for example, you know, you can pay $10,000 for a scope and not get this alternate trigger functionality. So if you really need this for some particular purpose, this scope has it. But of course, the reason that a lot of modern scopes don't have this alternate trigger, it's actually fairly rare to find. Sort of, you know, most scopes, the Rygols and the Agilents and ones like that, don't actually have this capability because it actually, in terms of designing the chipset for the scope and stuff like that, the acquisition engine and that sort of stuff, it just makes it more difficult, and then it impacts, you know, your in terms of like your update rates per second and the high performance nature of the scope and all that sort of thing. So, so a lot of modern scopes skip it, but this is not a high performance, high update rate scope, so they can just whack that in there, not a problem. One feature lacking though is that it only selects positive or negative edge here. It doesn't actually have both, so you can't you know, trigger off either slope like that, so that's really quite annoying. Hold off down here, of course, we have our hold off, auto, normal, single, all your basic stuff. Apart from that, you know, it hasn't got anything too fancy. There's no I2C triggering SPI or any logic analysis triggering or anything like that. It's not even an option, so forget it if you're looking to do digital troubleshooting, because you could with them, you know, very large 10 meg sample memory in here. It'd be, you know, ideal for you know, decoding packets and stuff like that, but no, forget it. It doesn't have that capability whatsoever. Pulse trigger down here. We've got some other stuff. So as with most modern scopes, it does have that ability to, you know, trigger off pulse widths and stuff like that. So yeah, triggering, it's got all your basic capability. When you're slope triggering here though, check this out. We've got slew rate triggering, so you can trigger off a particular slew rate. Very nice. One interesting thing to note, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it just, you know, thing that highlights the cheapness in this thing is you can actually see down through this foot here, this pop-out foot, you can actually see the PCB down in there. I can see a connector, and if I really wanted to, with that mains plugged in, I could stick a screwdriver in there and probably touch some of the mains input circuitry, and Darwin's going to get you if you know, stick your screwdriver in there with the mains plugged in and all that sort of stuff. But it just, you know, it just goes to show that it's, I don't know, you know, and given the weight of this thing, there's not much shielding in there at all. Sorry, and you can see the PCB down in there as well. It's probably not going to show up great on camera, but trust me, you can see parts down in there. And sorry, no, I'm not going to be able to take this thing apart, because this is a stock scope, so it's got to, I've got to keep the screen protector on, and it's got to go back in the box, back for sale. And one thing with the trigger option, by the way, the source down here, channel 1, channel 2, external divided by 5, AC line, but there's no like math trigger option or anything like that. Now, an interesting thing, I can't figure out what the pushable aspect of the vertical volts per division control here. It doesn't seem to do anything at all. It, like, usually that will put you into a fine mode, but as you can see, there is no fine mode. It's just your usual 1, 2, 5 sequence. So there's no way to get a fine vernier on that, and there doesn't seem to be a menu option either. Unbelievable. And that appears to be the same thing with the horizontal here over here as well. Like, you can go into main, you press your horizontal menu, we've got main, we've got set, which, what is that? That's a window, and then we can zoom the window. Oh, I don't like that. We'll get onto that. But anyway, you press that, and you'd expect to be able to get a fine vernier control of your horizontal time base, but you can't. These are pushable, but they don't do anything. Maybe I should read the bloody manual, but I don't know. Crazy. Now let's feed a signal up its clacker here. We've got a 100% modulated sine wave 1 megahertz carrier. You've seen me use this before with a 1 kilohertz modulation. Of course, you know, most scopes won't actually trigger on that. You've got to set a delay. So we'll go into the trigger down here. We'll go hold off, and I'll hold off at what are we, 200 microseconds per division. We need like 500 microseconds offset or thereabouts. I need to change the 600 nanoseconds. So we'll go up to a couple of hundred. It doesn't seem to have any velocity controls, by the way. So that's a bit of a downside, but here we go. We should see it lock in very shortly. Hello, McFly. There we go. Bingo. Now what we need to do is check out the acquisition menu here, and acquisition mode. Okay, you've got sample rate, you've got peak detect, of course. Don't mind that, it's giving you the peak envelope, but a lot of people won't like that. They'll want to see their proper waveform. screen timeout, and it's got an average mode, of course. There we go, 64 averages. You can change that over there. Bingo, not a problem. But there we go. And our memory length, of course, can go up to 10 meg, 1 meg, 100k, 10k, and 1k. So let's press our auto set button over here, dreaded auto set button, and see what it can do with this waveform. Yeah, that's exactly what I expected. Most scopes won't actually do that. Hasn't changed memory depth at all. Now, of course, this thing, it doesn't have any anti-aliasing. It's an absolute dog. Check this out. Bingo, we eventually get down to crap like that. And of course even that's with 100k memory depth. Watch this. Okay, here's a trap for young players. I might do a separate video on this. Now, let's say you wanted the fastest screen updating rate. I mean, it's not very fast at the moment with 100k memory depth. Let's go into our acquire button up here, and we're going to our sample memory length. 10k, we're still seeing our waveform. It's getting some wobbly business. Not sure what's going on there. It's wobbly. So it's sort of starting to alias there, even when it's got it on the screen. Oh, I don't like that at all. That's like jello mode. But look, you put it on 1000 and you've just gone. Okay, so let's say you've got your 100k depth here. You can go all the way out to there, and you'll see when I switch to now lower it, we're still getting our waveform there. Oh, we just got in, that's the jello mode. But let's go back into length, and you'll probably find it'll alias now with 10k. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Trap for young players. So basically what's going on there is the lower your memory depth, the quicker you're going to alias a signal like that. So just be very, very careful when you're using this thing. It doesn't have an auto memory depth feature like, for example, like the Agilent has, so which basically doesn't allow you to fall into this trap. But this scope, nah, you really got to know what you're doing. Look, right, I set my memory depth to 10 meg, right, so we can see all that lovely juicy stuff now, and we're not getting any of that. There's a little bit of something happening there, but basically, no, there's no hum on that at all. That's pretty good. And 1 meg, and you go down to 100k, and we start to see some wobbly business. Look at that. Jello mode, I call it. They could trademark that. And of course, there is no intensity graded display. If you want an analog-like scope, you're buying the wrong scope, because the waveform updates on this feel very, very sluggish. We'll be able to measure that shortly, I think. And no, there's no intensity graded display. In fact, I can't even find a simple way to actually change that. Anyway, let's now change dot mode. Look at this. What a heap of crap, right? In fact, we're 10k memory depth, so maybe the memory depth has something to do with it, but you expect to see dots. Where the hell are my dots? I want my damn dots. Look, vector mode. Vector mode's fine, you know, not a problem. Yeah, it's got persistence, very limited persistence mode, by the way. Look at that. You can get 1 second persistence. So the persistence mode's actually not bad. I should show that. You can see it does actually do variable intensity persistence, so it fades it out. So there's a decay function built into the persistence there. So it kind of does give an analog-like display in that respect when you have the persistence in there, but don't fall into the trap of thinking, once again, the menus jumping all over the place, it's crazy. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that, you know, this thing actually has analog like, you know, VPO, DPO type technology. It certainly doesn't. And check out this, folks, in variable persistence mode. Look at this. There's bugs, right? I've stopped it. So we've gone into stop mode here. Okay, I just captured that waveform. We've got 10k memory depth. And look, with this persistence on, look at this, right? It comes good there, but you sort of change this horizontal control too quick, and it seems to come up with these artifacts. Like, it's all over the shop. It's unbelievable. Look, horrible. Absolutely horrible. And of course, there's our 10k memory depth limitation. And this thing has, even though you're in vector mode, it has this weird feature I've noticed of when you go down to the lowest setting, where, you know, you get down to a certain point and it will not vectorize that anymore. You can see a point there. You probably can't see that, but there's a point there, point there, point there, point there. So it's gone to dot mode effectively, even though it hasn't. Like, it's still vector mode, but it won't draw those vectors in. So that's like, this is dumb. Don't know what's going on there. It's crazy. Anyway, if we change our acquisition length here, and let's go up to the big monster. Hello? Hello? What? You can't change. Oh, you can't change your memory depth when you're in stop mode. I presume that's what that is. Yeah, it grays it out when you're in stop mode. Unbelievable. All right, there we go. Let's stop that and see if we can... Yeah, look, see? We get this. There's that sort of... we sort of get that variable persistence decay intensity graded. I won't use the term intensity graded because it's not correct. But look, there's this artifact. I can get multiple waveforms up here. Watch this. Look at that. What the hell is that? Gotta be shitting me. So this thing really does seem to have some bugs in its, stop display engine. I really don't like it. And, well, I'm not sure what version of firmware I'm running. It doesn't matter. Look, there we go. No, yeah, so we got, that's our decay. There we go. We can see some of the variable persistence. Let me turn that off. Now, here's an interesting feature. It's got trigger frequency. You can turn that on. But trust me, folks, that trigger frequency, it's currently showing 261 kilohertz, and trust me, that ain't the waveform update rate. Not for a second. And there's the VGA on-off thing, by the way. It doesn't seem to blank the screen or anything. I think it just turns the external monitor off and on. So I've turned that persistence mode off now. We've got maximum 10 meg memory depth, and I can't fault it now. So there's a bit of lag on that horizontal zoom button. I think it sort of skips or misses some of the rotation there. So I don't think the encoder in there is that great, or the software reading the encoder is that great. But anyway, that bug only seems to be there in persistence mode. And it has not only an auto set button, but an auto scale button. Now I just pressed that auto scale button. Listen to those relays. It just continually cycles through the relays. It'll do that forever. It's not going to settle. There, and A's just popped up there for auto scale, but it's just jumping all over the shop, and there's nothing to tell you that you're still in. Oh, well, no, sorry, down here, off. There it is. Turn the bloody thing off, and it's just so you can auto scale horizontal and vertical, just like those little cheap little handheld pocket scopes. Ugh. No, I don't like it at all. Garbage. Now, as far as the horizontal zoom goes, it's pretty darn awkward. You call up horizontal menu down here, and you've got your main time base here, which is M for main time base, 2 microseconds per division. You can, in the set mode, then we can adjust the size of our window down there. So we should be able to zoom in on that, and then we can zoom in on that waveform. But you can't show both at once. It's just... oh man, it's so 1990s. Smart digital scope, my ass. And of course the real problem with that is, you've now got your 2 waveforms on there, but once you bugger off out of that, you don't know which one it's using. You've got to like assume that, you've got to see that and know that you're using that windowed time base instead of the main time base down there. So I guess once you know, it's sort of obvious, but if you start using this scope for the first time, it's just, no, it's just awful. It really is. Now let's go into our measure menu and have a look at that. And of course you can add them down here. I've already got like the rise time down there, and it does seem to be fairly comprehensive, but you got to go down here, you got to go up here, you got to press that, and then we've got a whole bunch, period, frequency, mean, peak to peak, cycle RMS, blah blah blah, V-stop, overshoot, rise time, 4 time, negative, duty cycle, delay. So it's reasonably comprehensive. I don't mind that at all. So let's choose peak to peak there. And we've got it. Add. There we go. We just added our V peak. What? VP? It's V peak to peak. It should be VP. Peak to peak. You know what that is? It's not peak. And we'll use the show all button. Ta-da! There it is. And one of the interesting things is that you can add more than what it looks like there. It looks like you could only add 4 before, but I added one there and it shifted it up. So I can keep adding items in there and it'll keep shifting that display up. I'll show you. Looks like we can only have a maximum of 8 there. Let's look at the waveform update rate. And yes, you are reading that correctly, folks. 35 Hertz. 35 waveform updates per second. Of course, I'm using my Agilent frequency counter to measure the trigger out function of this thing, and that's truly what we're getting. And no, that is the smallest memory depth, 1000. I kid you not. Let's change it to 10K memory depth, 100K. It really, you know, it changes a bit, but it's basically effectively independent of the memory depth. So the memory depth is useless. Why offer 1000 sample memory depth if you're not going to get faster waveform updating? It's madness, and you can actually see it on the screen there. You know, the waveform update rate is basically the same. It's just crazy. Give me a break. And no, it really doesn't make a difference what time base I use either. Like I haven't been able to crack 40 waveform updates per second yet. Is this like the slowest scope on the market? It's gotta be. Now I've got another way to demonstrate that to you using the scope itself. I'm effectively feeding it up its own clacker here. I'm taking the trigger output here, feeding that into channel 2, and I'm using the alternate trigger capability to allow us to measure the frequency on channel 2. There's our input frequency, 1 megahertz that we're feeding into channel 1 that we're measuring, and there's our rate. There it is again, 35 hertz. So this is actually quite a neat feature. This it can actually display the frequency of your alternate trigger. Really quite nice. So it's actually able to measure itself in that respect. So this seems to be the true update rate, unless there's something actually fundamentally wrong with the trigger output on this thing, and it's sort of, I don't know, not updating properly. But yeah, there it is, 35 hertz. And if we go in there and we change our length, there it is, 10K. There we go. So 1K. There we go. We get 25. We're getting 35 before. There we go. When the menu's on, it's slower. Look at that. Let me see if I can do that again. Let's do the acquire menu. Length. So it looks like all that processing. Yeah, look, I press the, hang on, watch this, right? I'll press the acquire button and watch that. It'll drop, right? It's nice and stable at the moment. 35 hertz. Watch it drop. I'll press it. No. Well, look, I'll press measure. Maybe, look, it jumped down to 28. Now I'll press acquire because it's got to update the screen. That's just ridiculous. Utility menu. Anyway, I swear it drops there. I'm not sure if I'm able to capture that. But anyway, look, you call up the length menu. And look, it's got to display more on the screen. So the update speed is dropping. Look, it drops down to 25. It drops by 10. I mean, as if it wasn't already the world's slowest scope. When you turn on the bloody menu, it gets even slower. That is shocking. Absolutely shocking. I don't think I've ever seen a scope this bad. The good news, you want to know what the good news is? Well, the good news is that it doesn't matter what memory depth you operate at, you're going to get the same waveform update rate. So, hey, you may as well run 10 meg all the time. Smart my ass for the Americans there. Check this out. There's something wrong with the alternate trigger level. There it is, the yellow marker, right? So it's triggering, you know, in fact, it doesn't even look like it's triggering it, like it should be in the center, right? That should be in the center marker, but it's not. It's like moved over, right? So that's wrong. And then, of course, if I change my trigger level, look, the waveform moves as you'd expect, right? And if you drop off the bottom, look, it's still going, but look, watch this. We go up and up and up and up, and whoa, away she goes. Look at that. You gotta be kidding me. Come on. Why does it only work that half there? It's just garbage. Something seriously wrong with this. Okay, let's try the waveform capture mode. I've plugged in a USB stick on the side here. Let's press the copy button, and hey, there we go. It pops up with a keyboard. How the hell do you use the keyboard? Where the hell is the enter key? Oh, look, yeah, we can use our multi-function button to scroll all the way around there, and oh man, that is dicky, but We press the center. I pressed it. I pressed my multifunction knob there. I did, I swear. Or you got to use the copy button, do you? Is that the enter button? Maybe. You would think that you scroll around with this thing. No, it's doing something. Now it's locked up. Or is it actually taking that long to save the file? Oh man, are you kidding me? No, there's nothing here. There's nothing on those menus. What? 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 What a heap of garbage. Oh, hello, McFly. What a heap of crap. This thing just disappoints me at every turn, it really does. Alright, little bit of an unfair test here comparing this real cheap Owon to the a little bit more upmarket Rigol 2000 series here, but what I've got is I've got a LaCroix demo board which can generate a little runt pulse here. It's there we go, I can switch it off, then on, and you can see that the Rigol is capturing that no problems, but this has got 50,000 waveform updates per second maximum, depending on the exact time base you use and all sorts of things. And then you see, of course, we're not picking up jack on the Owon here. So really, it's, yeah, that's that waveform update per second, and that was 1/100th. There we go, 1/100th. So every 100th pulse that this thing's feeding in there, every one of those 100s, there's a little runt pulse in there. And this one picks it up, no, Rigol picks it up, no problems whatsoever, 1/100, and this one can't even pick that up. But if you go to 1/8000, the Rigol, yeah, just picks it up occasionally. But this thing can't even get 1 in 100. But oh, there we go. I think we just got it. I think it just captured it. Okay, let's be a bit more fair. Let's compare it to the ancient 5-year-old Rigol DS1052E. And look at this. Yes, the Rigol is quicker. Look at that. No doubt about it. Yeah, the Owon does eventually pick it up occasionally, but not nearly as quickly. Look at that. So the Rigol is, you know, if this thing is like 35 waveform updates per second at this speed, then the Rigol there is got to be, you know, triple that, 4 times that, at least. It's seen it 5 times quicker or something like that. So probably, you know, 100 waveform updates per second at least. So much quicker. Of course, granted, this is where you should be using your intensity, your variable persistence. So if we go into variable persistence, of course, we can say set that to 5 seconds and we'll be able to eventually capture it, and we can see it decay. Or you can set it, of course, to infinite persistence, and of course you can do exactly the same thing on the Rigol as well. We can set it to infinite. There we go. Eventually pops it up. But hey, there you go. The Rigol is faster than this, you know, fairly modern, what is it, less than 6-month-old Owon. You've got to be kidding me. And even the Rigol, when it's set to long memory depth, is quicker. I mean, there's normal, okay, and you put long memory depth on, so you're getting the full, 1 meg or whatever it is, and it's still faster. Unbelievable. And that's sine X on X off, so even with sine X on X processing on, look at that. No contest. And yes, with 1K memory depth down there, we do get our 3.2 gig samples per second. Now, which is very impressive, and let's see if it halves if we turn on channel 2. And, yep, it does. It halves. Hey, and what was that, though? Look, there's artifacts there. Once again, that's got to be that stupid persistence heap of crap again. So let me turn off the persistence again. And let's try that one more time for the... No! Look, you turn on channel 2 and you get this huge glitchy thing on channel 1. Are you kidding me? Look, I'll press channel 2, turn it off and on. That's just garbage. And we'll just check that based on memory length. 3.2 gig samples per second, 1K, 10K, we're still at 3.2, 100K it drops down to 1 gig, 1 meg, and 10 meg are also 1 gig sample a second. So there's an advantage to use your 1K or your 10K memory depth. You do get a bigger sample rate, but it does halve when you turn on channel 2, of course, as with almost every scope. And by the way, that pass-fail output on the back there is not isolated from your mains earth and the inputs. Bummer. Well, I could try testing other stuff, you know, the VGA out, the LAN, the MMath FFT, which I haven't tried yet, but I really couldn't be bothered. I'm just sick of this thing. It's pretty much a piece of junk. I don't know why anyone would buy one of these. I'd rather have like the Rigol 1000 series any day of the week. Really, if you're like looking at a budget scope, because this thing, you can get 100 megahertz bandwidth one for $429. There's various models of this. It's like the 8302 or something like that, and etc. There's a whole bunch of them based on bandwidth and sample rate as well. You can actually get the 300 megahertz one in a 2.5 gig samples per second instead of 3.2 gig samples per second. And well, you know, I don't know why you'd want the 3.2 gig sample per second one. You know, you're just blowing your money on this stupid Owon thing. I don't like it. Well, look, what are the positive things about this? Well, probably, yeah, it's cheap for the bandwidth. If you want a 300 megahertz bandwidth scope, yeah, maybe. Oh, geez, but there's got to be a better option out there, surely. You're pretty much scraping the bottom of the barrel if you're buying this Owon. That's basically what it comes down to. I mean, this one that I've got here, the 9302, this one's like a $1,500 or something. If you go for the 2.5 gig sample per second, you get it for as little as 12 or 1300, about $1,300 or thereabouts. And when you're buying $1,300, I mean, you can get the Rigol 2000 series, the 200 megahertz one, for $1,600. Granted, the 200 megahertz version of this Owon is about half that price, or about $800. But really, yes, the Rigol 2000 is more than worth double. Let me tell you, it's got 10 times the functionality. It's just and the performance. This thing is probably one of the slowest digital scopes I've seen in a long, long time. It's just awful. It's their new, it's their new model, their Smart series, and it's just, man, it's just hopeless. Seriously, I can't think of any good reason, apart from the battery, by the way. The battery option, maybe, if you need a portable, lightweight. I mean, it is tiny. It is absolutely tiny. It does have that battery option. Don't know how long it lasts for. Of course, not isolated inputs, so you can't use both inputs. You don't get the proper isolated probes with it and all that. So it's not really a safe portable scope in terms of like the properly designed handheld ones are. But if you do need that battery option, maybe it's okay for that, but I wouldn't pay extra for the bandwidth. I'm not even sure if this thing can be hacked up in bandwidth. I'm not sure, but really I don't see why you'd spend like serious money on this Owon. It's just not worth it. So maybe if you got the 60 megahertz one, if you wanted that battery option, I don't know what other battery powered scopes are on the market that compete with this one. So maybe that's a selling point in its favour. But apart from that, no, it's man, it's practically a thumbs down, folks. Really, it is. Compared to everything else on the market, it's just, it's just not there. It's hopeless. Geez, I know this isn't a review, so I probably need to use it more, but, but I think I have no hesitation in giving this one a thumbs down, just because there's so much competition out there, really. Don't know why anyone would buy the thing. Anyway. Can I get like a couple of hours of my life back, please? Ugh. If you want to discuss it, jump on over to the EEVblog forum. I think there's already a thread that's already like 50 pages long of this Owon scope discussing it and things like that. So yeah, maybe, as I said, this is not a proper review. It's a first impressions type thing, and really I need to use it a bit more, I guess, but the thing's just going back. It's just, Don't waste your money. Better value elsewhere, folks. Catch you next time.